Hey, and welcome back to the Biohacks podcast. Today we've got a very special guest. We are joined by Jack Roach. He is a GB long jumper, nearly said triple jumper. And we're going to be basically finding out what does it take to get to the top in athletics, and especially in jumps in the jump disciplines. And basically just delving in, finding out what it really takes to kind of get there. What does it actually really require to get to the top of your game? So Jack, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
Before we get into it, guys, if you've got any questions for Jack, then make sure you leave them in the comment section below. We'll do our best to get them answered. And if you found the video helpful, then make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. So that obviously really helps us with the channel and getting the algorithm going. So, Jack, do you want to give the guys a bit of a rundown of how you got into athletics and a bit of your kind of early years and kind of what's led you to where you are now?
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I guess it's pretty standard. I started in school on sports day. I think it was year 6, and it was just one of those where everyone gets in a group. You're all in your house, your house meetings, and they just say, who's doing this event, who's doing that, and high jump was the only one that was left. And they were like, "Oh, Jack, do you want to do high jump?" And I was just like, "Yeah, bang me in, why not? Let's go for it." I'd only really played football up until then. I'd never done athletics. So did that, and I remember it was something like 1 meter 15 or something. The bar's just above the mat kind of thing. So did that. Came second, and I'm a pretty sore loser. So I wanted redemption the following year, but then had the meeting again the following year. Hadn't done athletics in between that time, and they just said, "Oh yeah, you came second last year. You can do it again." So I was like, put forward, even though I'd never done it since. I think it was, did I get them 143? I think, which was a school record, and I was like,
yeah, it's quite not bad for the age.
I know it was all right, yeah.
Did you scissor kick? Did you do the like?
I did. We did scissor kick, and then I tried. So we hadn't really learned like a flop or anything like that, but obviously you've seen videos and you try and go for it. And I ended up doing more of like a Western roll, so you jump and then kind of like roll and you see the bar in front of you.
Nice, I like it.
And that was I mean, that's what I remember of it anyway. But and then it just kind of like progressed to so after that, because I'd done it a little bit and I'd done all right. I looked at going to Gateshead Harriers. So went there for like one session a week, just for a bit of fun. Did it again the following year. I think I jumped 158. I think
this is all high jump at this point.
All high jump. All high jump. So, and at the time I didn't know anyone in my family had done athletics or anything like that before. I'd spoken to my mum and my dad about it and just told them what I was doing at school. And then it was after I jumped, because 158 in year 8 was a school record again. So I was speaking to my dad about it, and then it turned out my dad had done high jump when he was younger, and he's top 3 or 4 in England quite frequently. So that was, but I hadn't got into the sport because of that. That just so happened it was just a coincidence.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it was. And then coincidentally, my dad he decided to then come out of retirement per se, and decided to high jump again as a master or a veteran. Since then, I mean, he's still doing it now, but he works full time. So he's been to like World Masters games, European Masters, things like that, and he's done pretty well. So I think as a master, I can't remember which age category it was, but he jumped 170 as a master.
Wow.
And then prior to that, when he was competing, he jumped 211. So he was. That's
good, like
half decent. Yeah.
My godmum's actually does all the World Masters and Veterans. So Kath Dewing,
really?
She's a race walker, and they'll probably know each other from they always go to Edmonton and stuff, don't they? I guess they always
Oh, they all know each other. Yeah.
So
once you're in that, you kind of you're in that like bubble, I guess, aren't you? Kind of everyone knows everyone. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, you might do.
So you have to see. So so you kind of did the high jump, and then what was the transition? Did you do sprints or anything like that, or?
No. So I carried on doing high jump for a few years. Went to English schools. I think 5 years. I went to English schools for high jump. I think the highest I finished was maybe 6th in my last year. Carried on doing it after I'd moved down to pool as well. And I think the highest I jumped was 208. And it was. I mean, at the time I was I was still a high jumper at the time, so that was, I was over the moon with that. But I'd started like delving in long jump more just to get points for the club. And then I did a competition, and I'd won it by round, like my 5th round, I'd won the competition. And it was, it was one of those where people were doing it for points they'd left, and it was obvious that I'd won that competition for, by the 6th round. So in round 6, someone decided to be, just have a bit of fun, and they started clapping while I was about to jump, and I just got a bit too up for it, and I ran, I got it wrong, and I jumped wrong, and I landed wrong, and I tore the ligaments in my non-takeoff ankle.
Oh right, okay, wow.
Savage. That was, that was awful. That was probably 3 months where I couldn't do anything, and then after that, running in a straight line and jumping for long jump was easier than running a curve and jumping.
Okay.
So that I guess I fell into long jump that way and carried on with that. And then it just kind of progressed from there. And then slowly phased out of high jump, just where I think probably just where I was developing, and I got a little bit taller, a little bit broader. I was just more suited to sprinting and jumping as opposed to sprinting and long jump as opposed to high jump, and just kind of went on from there really.
Kind of ended up in it as a baptism of fire because of injury.
Yeah.
And stopped you going around the curve. Wow, that's I didn't realise that. That's it's a kind of cool little backstory. And then I guess, so then how long have you been fully doing long now? What's like the time period?
I'd say from maybe 2014 I've been doing it, where I think maybe 2014 I'd done over 7 meters, but it was probably about 2014 onwards where it took over more than high jump. And then I'd probably say since I started uni, I took a couple of years out from education, then started uni in 2016. And I think probably the kind of backing that I had at uni and the I guess, like, as cheesy as it sounds, the spirit of books and that kind of thing kind of spurred me on a little bit. And the backing that I had at uni and the support they gave, and then also just this was a little bit more serious. I guess I just switched on a little bit and stopped messing around as much, and it kind of just went on from there. So I'd say 2016 is where it kind of it fully took over, and that's when I was a lot more serious about it.
Right. Yeah. Wow. So it's kind of like, 6 years you've really been on the long jump path. So I guess and that's great to hear that. Obviously Bucks is a great organisation. I guess it's good that it's helping to kind of also, like, people that potentially might have dropped out of the system. It's kind of giving you something to kind of aim at, and a kind of structure and a framework to work towards. Otherwise you'd be doing low league, like Northern Athletics League.
Yeah.
Whatever. So that's cool.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think the thing is with Bucks, so Bucks changes every year. So obviously the standard's always high, but it's all just dependent on who's enrolled on a university course at the time. And I mean, I wouldn't say that I got lucky one year, because obviously everyone's still got to turn up and do well. But I think I managed to. I'd never won a national medal for high jump or long jump. The highest I finished was 4th for high jump when I was under 17s. And I think going into that competition where, there was a few people that weren't there, 1st, 2nd, 3rd in the country weren't at Bucks, weren't at uni. And I think I got a little bit lucky, I hold my hands, but I think I got a little bit lucky there to I think I got bronze, and that was my 1st ever national medal. And I've never been so buzzing in my life to get a medal.
You've got to take your chances. It doesn't.
That's it, yeah. But then on the flip side of that, I'd gone from not ever getting a national medal to going to. So I got that bronze, and then a few weeks later, 3-4 weeks later, I went to England champs. And again, I was there on a day when other people weren't there, and I just got it right on the day when other people didn't, and I won that, which was going on from a 1st national medal to 1st national title. And that was, I think that was my last year as an under 23.
It was like the springboard that you needed. It just need that little bit, a little bit of validation. Yeah. Really just give you that confidence to kick you on and push you.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think from then, a lot of it wasn't even necessarily who was and wasn't there. I think, and I've had like, especially my coaches said it to me, a couple of my training partners, that at the time, I'll turn up to competitions. I might not necessarily have the best PB at the time, but just because I was so confident and on a roll at the time, that is what was pushing me on. And I guess almost, you know, when they say like you win a medal in a call room kind of thing, it was almost like that. I was just on a roll, and the way that I was walking around, so I'm told, just had that sort of bit of confidence, and that absolutely stems from books, 100%.
Yeah, great. So it's kind of like, it's funny. It's like nice. It's really great to see like how it's kind of inspired you to push on, and then it's like it's become self-fulfilling, doesn't it? You get the confidence, and then it goes well, and then your performance goes well, so you get more confidence. And I guess it works in the opposite direction as well. I guess it's one of the things with kind of like the jump sports, I guess, as well. So
has like a snowball effect either way, because I suppose literally on the back of winning England champs, you're for Manchester International, the England team is selected based on who wins each event at England champs. So you basically win that, and you're guaranteed an England vest. So that went from, I'd say, 6 weeks before that, 2 months before that, never getting a national medal, to bronze, then gold, England title, and then an England vest, and that was.
Love it.
And then I think since then I've had an international vest every year, apart from 2020 where not a lot's happened.
Yeah. Wow. That's like a meteoric rise. It just shows you when you're consistent, and I guess like consistency is king, I guess. And you were just plugging away in the background, and obviously from your injury, and kind of got yourself to where you are now. So how long have you been representing GB then? So how many seasons have you done?
So 2019 was the first GB vest. I mean, it's the only GB vest I've got. I've got a few like England selections, but in terms of GB, 2019 was my first selection, which was for World University Games.
Great.
So honestly, the 2019 season wasn't my best season by any means. It was quite mentally quite a tough season. I suppose what you're talking about with that snowball effect, getting like with a positive, it obviously had that negative effect as well. And I think I was lucky enough that I'd qualified the previous season. So that was my pro, or my positive to 2019, was that I got my first GB vest, and got 3 weeks in Italy for it as well. And
why do you think 2019 was tough? What was tough about it? You were just out, or you overtrained, or what was the?
So I changed coaches after 2018. So in 2018 I jumped my PB8 British champs, or my then PB8 British champs, and I left my coach just before the competition because we had a bit of a fallout. And I'll absolutely hold my hands up, and I'm not saying because I left her that's why I did as well as I did. That was absolutely down to her sessions and everything. But then after that, I took a while deciding where to go with my next coach, and then in the end, I decided to stay local rather than commute to another coach elsewhere. So I stayed with a coach in Gateshead, who was a multi-events coach, and it just didn't quite work. I can't really put my finger on it. I'm sure other people have probably got their own ideas, but
sometimes it doesn't click, I guess, doesn't it? Like it's a relationship, isn't it? I guess, and at the end of the
day, that's it. And I mean, like person to person, when I joined the group, we got on well. We had a good laugh and everything, and I was training hard, and the sessions were good, and they were technical, and there was different aspects to training. I mean, at the end of 2018, I did get another ankle injury on the same ankle, and that was torn ligaments as well. So that put me out for quite a few months, and then all through 2019, I did have just a constant pain in my ankle, and that played on my mind a bit.
Yep. That probably affected your confidence, I guess, doesn't it? And I guess your sport, from what I've seen in terms of force numbers that are going through the body, like there's not really many other things that replicate. I don't know, maybe apart from like max effort sprint. I guess it's even higher than max effort sprinting, and maybe even compared to weightlifting. I guess it must be one of the most forceful things that the body ever sees, I guess. So you're also contending with that, I guess, aren't you? Like,
yeah. So, that's it. Yeah, and I think it was, there were some training sessions I had that went really well, and then in competitions it just didn't happen. We went away so we had an indoor season, and then in April we went away to Tenerife, and we did a warm weather training camp. And without going into details, it kicked off a little bit. Well, I say a little bit. It kicked off for various reasons, and I ended up falling out with my coach. And then when I came back, I spoke to a coach in Loughborough, so Lucas. He's I don't know if you've heard of Reynolds Benigo. So he's one of my training partners. So he trains in Loughborough. He's the lad that won British Champs this year. So I messaged his coach, and I was just chatting to him, and I was like, look, this is what's happened. Do you think I could come and train with you? And he was like, yeah, of course, not a problem. So for maybe 6 months, through 2019, he was my coach for the outdoor season.
Yep.
But for those 6 months, I was living in Newcastle, and then having 2 days off a week from work and driving down to Loughborough, training, staying the night, training again, and then driving back. And that was hard. That was really hard.
And I guess but what do you think, was the coaching worth it? Like, so obviously you've only just, I guess it was a new thing. I guess it's like you're there, and I guess you've only just got to Loughborough, I guess, and it's kind of one of those weird ones where you kind of, I guess if you've really fully committed now, I guess you've gone like fully in, and now you're getting the training that you need, you're getting a full season, and you're not having to do the commute. I guess it's like everything's kind of coming together, I guess, for you now, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the drive itself probably wasn't helping with injuries. I was getting quite a bad back, bad knee as well. I was just constant little niggles. And then I just wasn't getting, the technical sessions I did have with Lucas were great. I was doing well. It was going well. But I think it just, the sheer sort of volume of miles I was driving in a week purely for training for 2 sessions were outweighing the benefits of the sessions themselves.
Definitely.
So I went to World Unis, and it's funny. I made a bit of a joke. I made a bit of a joke to my manager at work at the time, and I was like, "Oh, you never know if it goes well. I might not come back. I might not carry on working here." Made a bit of a joke out of it, and I guess the opposite happened. It went really bad, and I didn't qualify for the final. I got pretty upset, and I just remember getting back to this. So we were staying on a cruise ship, not in a hotel. So I got back to the ship, and I just remember thinking that I can't keep doing it as I'm doing it. It's not working. And I looked at not the options. I looked at the reasons as to what could be causing those problems and what could prevent it from working. And I didn't think it was the coach, and I thought it was my setup around training.
Smart.
So I had about 3 or 4 days left in Italy, and while I was there, I rang my manager and I said, look, just to give you a heads up, I think I'm going to move to Loughborough. And 2 weeks after I'd got back home from Italy, I'd sorted a place to live in Loughborough, and I'd sorted a job transfer. So I was keeping my same job but transferring down to Loughborough as well. I'd sorted that all within 2 weeks, and it all just kind of fell into place after that.
Yeah, nice. And I guess I talk about a lot of the athletes we've had on. It's like the journey. It's like resilient. Like, things come to test you on your journey, right? And it's about who can have enough resilience and who can be smart enough to keep rejigging their setup, whether that's training setup, whether that's coach. It's like there's all these little cogs and levers that you can pull.
Yeah.
And I guess it's like you pull one thing and it throws something else off. And I guess it's like that juggling, and you're in the middle of it. Like, so huge respect to you, because it's obviously not easy, and I've kind of been through that.
Thank you.
Day, but,
thank you. No,
it sounds like you're getting yourself to. The right kind of moving in the right direction. So let's delve a little bit in, because we've only got, I don't want to take too much of your time, but let's delve into a little bit. So what are the requirements of long jumping? Like, what are the main thing? Like, I know a little bit about kind of the speed on the track and stuff, but do you want to give people a bit of a rundown? Like, what does it really require? Like, what does it take to
Yeah, so obviously I guess the main thing is you've got speed on the runway, which is, you want to be as quick as you can, but you want to make sure that peak velocity comes at the board at the point of takeoff. If some people have really long run-ups, they'll hit peak velocity and they're sort of 4 or 5 strides out from the board, so they've slowed down a lot by the time they get to jumping, and their speed's irrelevant by that point. So you've got to have the timing of that right as well, and then I guess there's obviously the takeoff. So some people are absolutely rapid. They can drop some quick times over like 100 meters, 60 meters, but then trying to stick a leg out at the end of it and project that speed into a jump is not easy.
I guess, isn't it? So it's like trying to mix the two elements. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, there's a few that have done it. You know, like Carl Lewis he's obviously a world record holder, and then like a world class long jumper as well. But it doesn't happen that often because it's two completely different types of speed. I'm not the quickest on the runway.
Brings then.
Yeah, so mine tends to be my takeoff. So I'd like to think I'm pretty good with utilizing the speed on my runway. I'm not the quickest, but I try not to lose much speed on my takeoff. And I think that's the difference between my best and my worst jumps. Is the best ones I manage to get the speed at the right time. My worst ones I get it wrong and get my takeoff wrong, and everything's just converted into like vertical takeoff instead of a horizontal takeoff.
Okay, and I guess that's the thing. So you want speed on the runway, and then you want horizontal displacement pushing you forwards, rather than it can look pretty, but it's going up rather than like forwards and out. So that's really interesting. And I guess obviously strength is a massive. So you've got speed, and obviously the ability to obviously withstand those types of forces, and obviously you're taking off on one leg, I guess. So I guess like and let's go into a little bit into the actual types of training. So what does your week look like? Like what kind of types of training you're doing during the week?
So on a Monday and a Thursday, we only gym twice a week. So Monday and a Thursday we'd be in the gym. They tend to be until lockdown happened and COVID happened, they were fairly long sessions. They tend to be two like bigger lifts. So for example, on a Monday, we'll have like maybe deadlift and either front squats or like hip thrusts. So like fairly big, heavy lifts. And then you have a lot of like accessory work. So we'll do a lot of like lunges. I do a lot of, so like our front squats aren't necessarily the heaviest, but we'll do them on a Bosu ball. So you're trying to like keep the ankle stability. Like I said, a lot of lunges onto Bosu balls as well. And then a lot of like ankle stability, stuff like that. So it tends to only be two big heavy lifts, like I guess compound lift, and then the rest of it's all accessory work to keep the stability and keep the smaller muscles ticking over and working, I guess.
And that's Monday and Thursday, and then what are you doing? Technical sessions on what days?
So on I've got it written down because I couldn't remember. So on Mondays we tend to be doing sort of speed work. So you have sprints, or during the winter we have like the longer runs. More for like fitness. The Tuesdays tend to be technical sessions. Sorry, no, that was the Tuesday. So Tuesdays are the technical sprints where we're trying to get up to speed but trying to keep good form. The Wednesdays are the technical jump sessions. So we'll have some sort of plyo, some sort of bounding. And then towards the summer season, we'll be doing more jump related stuff as well. And then as it gets into the season and through the season, we'll actually be jumping and training. Thursday's gym. Friday tends to be a slightly easier day. So that tends to be either like short sprints, so like accelerations, and then we have like a bit of core kind of circuit as well. I remember through the season last year that tended to be the majority of the Friday session was like half an hour core, but like you go hard or go home kind of core, and then you're done. And then Saturday, so I personally don't train as often on Saturdays. That's just because I work on every other weekend. But the Saturdays that I am there usually tend to be the runs as well. But it gets altered all the time. But that's the general setup, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. And then you said you're in season, I guess. So you're actually doing full jumps in training, and I guess that's kind of giving you a guide to where you're roughly at. Like, do you do it off a shorter run up, or how does it work? Like,
occasionally. So occasionally you'll do short run ups, and that's more just to get your positions right on takeoff. It's just getting used to the impact on the ground, going through the motions of taking off and landing. Then we'll move it back to like a medium approach. That's more just that to get a bit more speed behind it, get this sort of stiffness on the ground and reactive on the ground. And then occasionally we'll go back to a full run up. We don't do that as often, just purely I think because of the amount of force it can put through. But if we do full run ups, sometimes we'll jump, but occasionally what we'll do is we'll do the full run up. You take off, you do your motion in the air, but you don't finish off the jump. So it's more like take off, kind of go through the arm rotations and the cycles, the hang time, that kind of thing, and then you'll just sort of run out the pit, because that kind of avoids putting your body through the full impact of the takeoff and the landing as well.
And save it fresh, I guess, as well. Like, you don't want to be jumping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. No, that's super cool. That's super in depth. It's really interesting to kind of see how it's all kind of split up. But it's still quite a full-on schedule, actually. I guess you're pretty much something every day. And it's like, it's interesting. So I'm going to probably look to wrap up because I don't want to take too much more of your time. But
of course,
what kind of advice or guidance do you have for like anybody, like kind of maybe 3 points of advice or guidance in terms of people that want to kind of get into athletics or sport, or anybody even getting into athletics or jumping?
So I think the first thing is pretty cliche, but it's always going to be just enjoy it. That was my biggest lesson last year, is I didn't enjoy it. And ironically, I think coronavirus and lockdown really helped. It stripped everything back to basics. There was no difference between elite and non-elite at the time. It was just you go and train in the field and that's it.
Yep.
And then I did a competition in Nuneaton, which was my season opener this year. And Jazz and Toys was there, and I was talking to Jazz, and we were saying that we've never been so nervous for doing just a small open meeting. And it really strips it back. It really I guess it humbles you a bit just to be like, right, go right back to the start. There's kids like 9, 10, 11 years old doing the same competition. And it just sort of puts you back down a peg and makes you realize why you do the sport in the first place. So I think enjoying it has to be the number one
100%.
Rule.
100%.
Yeah. And after that, I think for me personally, as a slightly older athlete, I'm not in uni anymore. For me, it's quite important to have something else going on. I'm not obsessed with athletics. I'm not watching it 24/7. I don't watch my videos on repeat. I think you've got to have that time away from it.
Balance. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to have balance. I think having that time away, if you have a bad session, it means if you've got something else going on, whether it's work, whether it's uni, school, going and seeing your mates, whatever it is, it just lets you switch off if you've had a bad session. It gives you something else to think about, gives you different stimulus. And then on the flip side, I've had days at work that are horrendous and I've felt awful and I've been in such a bad mood, and then I can switch off from that and I can go and train, and it gives you just two different aspects and two different perspectives. It just kind of helps, I guess, keeps you sort of level-headed a lot of the time.
Perspective, I guess, doesn't it? So
yeah, exactly. And it just stops you being bored as well. I think the biggest problem elite athletes have and in any sport is being bored. If you've got nothing going on, especially for a lot of people, if you're an elite athlete or you're a professional sports person, most of your friends probably aren't. It's not a very common thing.
Yeah.
And I think you just need something to take away that boredom.
That's really good advice.
Yeah, I'd say the one other thing, and this is more personal to me, I guess, is to not compare yourself to anyone else. It's so easy to look at people and say, oh, that person got this at 19, 18 years old. And then, so you've got people like Colin Jackson, for example. He got a silver medal. I think it was the World Champs or the Olympics in Seoul in